managing periodic PCI DSS activities. This next one. First, but what does it mean? It says when PCI DSS doesn't specify an exact frequency for reoccurring activities, it allows them to be performed periodically. Make sense? The entity must define a frequency that suits its business needs while still ensuring compliance with PCI DSS, right? And what's the purpose for this? To ensure that compliance activities are performed at regular intervals through the specific time frame may vary based on business operation as well as risk analysis, right? But the role of risk analysis in defining frequency, I believe you guys will be talking about risk analysis. First, the entity being organization must perform a risk analysis to determine the frequency of periodic activity. The policy must support this decision to ensure it aligns with the overall security goals and compliance. Perform that risk analysis and also determine the frequency based on your business need. Say an organization risk analysis identified as certain security controls, for example, maybe their vulnerability scan. As of now, you guys should realize that these are all controls, right? So I said that, you just want to focus on SOC analysis and all those things. These are all security controls. As a compliance person, you're definitely going to be requesting some of these artifacts, right? Should be conducted more frequently than PCI DSS requirements or required, so business may decide to schedule these activities monthly instead of quarterly, right? What happens if an activity is missed? For example, when an activity is not performed on time, the entity must have a process to address it. First, notification. The entity is promptly notified when an activity is missed. Secondly, determine the cause. Investigate what led to the mixed activity, for example, oversight, mismanagement. Third, then you have to catch up. The activity should be performed as soon as possible with the entity or either getting back on schedule or establishing a new schedule. Do you see? Once you first of all identify, you have received that notification and identify the root cause, you want to catch up with that mixed activities. You want to maybe take proactive measure, do it right away, fall back to and then enforce your scheduling to make sure that that activity is being performed, or better say you come up with a new schedule, right? And after that, you go through the process of documentation where the entity must produce documentation that shows the process was followed and missed activities was addressed, right? So for example, say organization has scheduled quarterly vulnerability scan. What happened? Do you see? That requires every 90 to 92 days. The organization is notified that scan was missed. They have to investigate what happened. Was it due to resource exaltation? There are times that you have those scans and then you have missed scan. And that's why when you receive that alert, you need to investigate right away what was what happened, why did we have a missed activity or a missed scan. And then after that, you see you have to perform the scan immediately. And the cost of doing that, make sure you guys can still follow the same schedule after identifying the bottleneck or the issues, resolving it. And if you cannot follow that same schedule, then you guys can come up with a new scheduling to make sure that this scan are being run based on what you have on your policies. And once the outcome organization is not automatically compliant as long as the process was followed and the count was performed in the next available time frame. Okay. So do you see how important time frame is? Importance of documenting the process. Also, if the entity fails to document the reason for missing an activity or does not have a process in place for catching up, it is considered non-compliant by default. Say, for example, if an organization misses a quarterly vulnerability scan and does not have a documentation process to catch up, they fail to meet PCI DSS requirement and must re-establish a schedule and provide evidence for future compliance, right? And this eventually explain all what we've been discussing. Define frequency, risk analysis, and security policies determine the frequency of the activity, which makes sense. Based on your policy, you will do your risk analysis, determine how often do I want to do it, depending, because risk analysis, you're taking of the potential impact or risks that your organization will be exposed to if something happens. And with that, you want to schedule activities to be able to minimize your risks And in the course of doing that, documentation, evidence of corrective action, and then scheduling readjustment. I hope this makes sense, right? And then we have initial PCI DSS assessment and time frame flexibility. So with this, I believe I'm also just going to keep this video short. I will see you guys in the next video. And again, you know the tradition. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the comment section. And guess what? I'll see you all in the next video. And don't forget to put whatever question you might also have.